Hello, 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 hello.
Hello, everyone.
Good morning, afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So, who,
We're gonna
see?
give people, let's give people a little bit more time to log on. How many
Okay.
people we have signed up?
We have one, two, three, four, five, six people. That's not including you and I.
No, I'm talking on the Eventbrite.
Oh, I believe we had last count was 11.
Okay. I know some people gonna join at the last minute, so.
Yeah. Do we want to give them a second? Like
Yeah, we're gonna give them a
another,
little,
like, what is it?
another 5 minutes to log on.
Okay, cool. So, everyone who's present, thank you for all showing up. Yes, we will start this in 5 minutes. So please take your enjoy 5 minutes of coffee drinking. Oh, we have another person that just joined us. Awesome, Lily. Thank you for joining us. But yes, enjoy your coffee if that's what you're doing, having breakfast, whatever it is you're doing, have 5 more minutes of it, and we will come back and start this. Um,
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, everybody. My mind is still in morning. Hi, Lou. So many familiar faces here. People who were in my previous workshop. We have a Sunday writing workshop, just in case you guys are like, what am I talking about? Um, and a few of the people here were in attendance. For those of you who think you know me, today you will meet another side of me. Meaning professionally. Welcome, 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 welcome. Um, Good morning, folks.
okay, folks, we'll give it another minute and then we'll begin.
I'm so glad that everyone's taking their Sunday to, work on their creative projects. Wow. Now we're going to talk about getting that money because there's a lot of money out there and we just need to apply for it. All right, Leo. Leo, you
Okay,
there?
folks, we are back. And so am I. I was in the middle of eating a peanut butter sandwich. Um, Welcome everyone. We have at this point, how many people we have with us? Good, what,
12.
8, 12? Okay, great. So, welcome all of you to our morning workshop. This workshop is hosted by the Children's Art Carnival. And we at the Children's Art Carnival, I'm a volunteer, by the way. So, Children's Art Carnival is a nonprofit organization based and centralized in Harlem, West Harlem. and it is a community organization that basically, how should I say, cultivates and embraces and activates the artists and creative people of our community, but also beyond that. And in that, we are always doing things that enhance not only community people's lives, but also the lives of the creative community within our community. And in doing so, we do these technical assistant workshops, you can call them, where we're providing resources, information that in some way enhances, improves, or elevates the lives of the creative community that we have within our community, so that they can continue to become creative and grow from that space to provide the rest of the community with the beauty and with everything that art um, provides. So, one of the workshops that we have done in the past has been a grant writing workshop. Um, and that workshop is was very sought after because so many people that attended the first time learned so much about what it takes to get grants. Because there is this kind of like mindset of the starving artist. And it's 2024, going on 2025. Artists do not need to be starving, not with all the resources and monies available. And it just so happens that we have a great relationship with Angela Abreu, excuse me, Angela. And she is a person whose profession has led her to becoming a grant writing coach, or somebody who gets grants for the creative community, being that she runs an organization called the Dominican Writers Association. If you're not aware of it, which I think most of you are, it is an incredible, long-lasting, empowering source of information and opportunities by which literary artists from the Dominican community and beyond, okay, there's a lot of beyond in that, have grown and elevated and started careers from there. I'm gonna On a personal side, I know Angie for a while, and Angie has helped me get grants. So I'm not speaking like as if this is theory or like hearsay from somebody else. I literally experienced her power upon me and helping me getting myself together, getting resources together, writing, and also then getting grants. And I got a healthy amount of money because of it. And as a creative person, that was extremely empowering and catapulting me to the next level. So all that to say that at the Children's Art Carnival, we're constantly bringing these resources and opportunities for artists to enhance themselves and the community by which they belong to. I'm not going to hog up this conversation because time is of the essence and it's a Sunday and you guys rather drink another cup of coffee than listen to talk. So with that said, I will pass the mic over to Angie. Angie will share more of herself and then begin the workshop. I will lay low and return later on. But thank you so much, Angie. And yeah, man, rock on the way we have before.
Thank you, Leo.
Very well.
All right, everybody, welcome to today's workshop, The Creative Artist Guide to Grant Research and Application Process. I want to clear something up that Leo shared. I do not write grants for people. I barely have time to write grants for myself. But I do provide you with the guidance and the assistance that you need to develop those grants, to find those grants, to develop those grants, to apply for the grants. I will give you advice on how to find them and apply, but I do not write grants for folks, okay? Just want to clear that up. That is a full-time job. So my name is Angy Abreu. I am some of you may know me as the executive director of a nonprofit called Dominican Writers Association, which dedicates itself to amplifying Dominican stories. But aside from that, I have been a grants manager for the past 20 years for federal and nonprofit sector. So I have vast knowledge on these what the process of applying for grants entails. I work with doctors. It's very different than the creative side because doctors do it with research data. They apply for grants for it, but on the creative side is your creative project that you are using to find these funds. I'm sorry, give me a sec. Cookie, no. I have a dog going into one of my bags. Sorry. So yeah. Where was I? Oh my God, lost my train of thought by grabbing my dog. But so can everyone see the screen? Did I just freeze?
It's loading for me.
Okay. I see that. Can you see it now? Okay, Zoom is a little weird. You guys can see my screen now, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So can we go around and have each one of you introduce yourself and let me know what kind of project it is that you're looking to fund? Um, and as you do that, I want you to answer these questions on the screen, okay? So just grab a piece of paper, answer the questions on the screen, but also I would like for you to tell me who you are as a creative and what you are trying to fund. Okay, there's quite a few of you here, so I will just pick names. Okay. So let's go with Maciel.
Hello. You said my name, what I do, and what I want grants for, right?
Yeah. Who are you as a creative and what do you want grants for?
Hi, I'm Maciel Alfonso. I'm a spoken word poet and general storyteller, creative. I am seeking grants to hopefully bring forward an art exhibition that highlights body positivity and hair rewrite the narrative around hair being bad, quote unquote. Yeah, that's the current project. But in reality, I want grants just to fund every single idea.
Thank you, Maciel. What about Janine? Am I pronouncing your name correctly? Jean? Is Jean there? Jean Nutter?
I'm sorry. Here I am now.
Am I pronouncing your name correctly, Jean?
It's Jean.
Jean, okay.
Yes. I'm an oral historian and also a producer of documentary films on African Americans. And I'm looking for funding on producing a documentary film on the Black YMCA in Wilmington, Delaware.
Okay. Thank you for sharing, Jean.
Yeah.
Lillian? Who are you as a creative and what project are you trying to fund? Lillian? Okay, let's move on to Liseida.
Hello, everyone. I am a New York City public school teacher. I teach fifth grade bilingual students. I am also a self-published author and don't have a project in mind as of yet. I just wanted to come to the workshop and just see how much information I can kind of soak in.
All
Nice
right.
to meet everyone.
Thank you, Liseida. Luz. Okay, not there. JP?
Hi. Sorry. Oh,
Go ahead, Luz.
hi, guys. I'm Luz Mack. I'm a self-published author, also traditionally published. I'm seeking funding for one of my new projects that is not only for a children's book, but 2D animation. So I could create more content for children and families that is based on Dominican culture. And this one is particularly based on bachata culture.
All right, thank you, Luz. Give me a second, guys. I'm so sorry. Thank you, Luz. Okay, let's go with Lily Woodbury.
Hello, my name's Lilia Woodbury, and I am a musical theater writer. So I write the lyrics and music. I'm currently writing an Edgar Allan Poe like murder mystery about otherness and loneliness that I'd love to get funding for, but just in general, love to learn about the process for the future.
So Lily, that's book form, correct?
No, a musical like on
A
stage.
musical, the Edgar Allan Poe project is a musical?
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you for sharing that.
thank you.
All right, Edu Diaz.
Hello. Hi,
Hi.
everyone. How you doing? I'm a theater maker from the Canary Islands, Spain, and I do nonprofit work because the topic of my work, I guess, um, tries to promote social causes. The first show I did is about severe depression, and the second one, called A Drag is Born, is about diversity. And now I'm creating a new show about the struggle of being different. So it's about immigration as well. Um, I want to, I want fans, for my whole career and life here in New York City. But specifically, I'm looking for fans for the second show, A Drag is Born, and for the new one. And what is keeping me from fulfilling, I would say,
No,
I
we're
mean,
not answering that just yet. Hold
thank
on
you.
to that,
Thank
okay?
you.
Thank you. Who haven't I called upon? Michelle Lawson? Michelle, are you there? Okay.
I'm here. I was trying to
Okay,
unmute. Sorry.
got it. Can you share who
Um,
you are as a creative and what creative project you're trying to fund?
so I'm an actor. I'm a model and an event host. But that's, my passion. But I work for the Department of Homeless Services. So the project that I'm working on, I'm creating a nonprofit that will focus on homelessness, court advocacy, housing, finding employment, and really retaining employment and permanent housing so that the client won't continue in a revolving door going in and out of the shelter system.
Okay, so just so we're clear, this workshop is mainly for creatives, for creative projects. But the information that I'm sharing with you will be helpful. Okay?
Thank you. Yeah, I
Just
understand.
so
I
you know that
understand.
the majority of examples I'm going to share are from the creative perspective. Okay?
Well, the reason I signed on today is I would like to bring fashion and beauty to the forefront so that you have to start with feeling good first, and just empowering other people that you can do anything that you set your mind to. But my focus is on entertainment.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Eduardo?
Hello, everybody. I am a writer. I'm a creative director. I am a developer. And the reason I'm here is just to generally find out what is out there so that I know for this project, future projects, the likes. But one specific project that I have in mind is a website that will enable people to do everything that we're doing here and combine tech, art, and business acumen into one platform so that people can own their work, publish their work, and retain their rights, pay their taxes, put their art towards social good. So like an engine. So that's why I'm here, to kind of find out what I would need to do in order to make that a reality.
Okay, hopefully the info I share helps, because that's a huge, that is a huge project. Little man.
The creative project I want to fund is a book.
Okay, so you are a storyteller and you want to fund a book.
Yes.
What about the book you want to fund?
I'm not sure yet.
Okay. We could work on that. And the Children's Art Carnival, I gave people permission to change their names. So if you could change your name so I know not to refer you as the Children's Art Carnival, that'll be great.
Got it. Well, I'll just quickly just say hi. My name is Dionis Ortiz, visual artist, and I don't have any specific grant I'm gonna be applying for. I always have projects, but I'm not pursuing anything at the moment. I'm just attending the class just to kind of you know, just listen in, learn some new things, maybe consider some things that I may not have done in the past. So yeah, try to keep my skills as sharp as I can. So just
Okay, welcome, Dionis.
thank you.
Yeah, feel free to change your name so I don't forget.
Will do.
All right, folks. So I want you to answer these 3 questions. So grab a piece of paper. I'm going to give you about 2 minutes, 3 minutes to answer. Are you a creative artist engaging in nonprofit work? Nonprofit meaning you're not trying to get rich off of this. Okay, you will not be charging people an exorbitant amount of money to be part of your project. Okay, instead, you will be paying them if you get a grant. All right. So, number 2, what is the creative work you're trying to fund? So, of course, you may not have a project at the moment, but if you are a visual artist, I will assume that in the future you would like to fund your visual artist work, right? And if you are a storyteller, the same applies for books and whatnot. And then I want you to share what is keeping you from fulfilling this creative project. What is it that you think you need? Right? Most of the time it's money. We need money. Okay, because we cannot continue dipping into our pockets, into our savings, into our family accounts, emergency savings, whatnot. That is not sustainable. Okay, so I am going to give you 2 more minutes as you answer these questions. And I do not want you to share them. I want you to put them to the side because you will use them later. Oh, JP, I was asking you to share, but you weren't around, so I don't know if you're around now.
Yeah, I was around. You skipped me though, but we'll get through it.
Do you want to share who you are as a creative and what creative project you want to fund?
Yeah, sure. So my name's GP. I'm an educator and a writer. Work directly with you for many years. Now I'm a development associate, fundraising, grant writing, but for a nonprofit. And I'm looking to fund a novel, a fiction novel. And a lot of my work, like the novel, centers around like harm reduction, addiction recovery, those stories.
All right, thank you so much. One more minute, folks. Okay, and the time is up, okay? So, what's a grant, okay? Grants are sums of money that it is awarded by nonprofits, by personal and corporate philanthropies, think Mellon Foundation, and institutes like museums and universities to applicants to support their work. For artists, this means that grants can help you attend a residency, rent a theater, furnish supplies for a sculpture, hire audio engineers, and more. And grants can be awarded to both individuals or groups or organizations like other nonprofit organizations, okay? There are grants for small businesses. That is not where my expertise lies, so sorry. I can direct you to the Small Business Bureau in New York City or in your state, where you could get information about funding your small business, which means you have a for-profit business. That is a totally different space from nonprofit grant work, okay? We're concentrating on nonprofit work here, okay? So number two, to receive grant funding, you need to apply, and then you are selected by a judging committee, okay? I've sat on these judging committees. They're comprised of about 10 people or more, and we read every single one of your grant applications. We score them, and we choose who's gonna get the money and who's not, okay? We do not provide feedback on why you didn't get the money. That is very rare. But it doesn't mean that you cannot reapply the next year again. A lot of small institutions that give out money will provide feedback, but they will share that information. And also, you don't lose anything by emailing them and say, hey, is there someone that I can talk to so that I can improve my application for next time? Okay, I totally advise people to do that. Number three is grants can be for small amounts of money or large sums. Small amount, anything from $500 to, I guess, anything under $100,000 is considered small amounts. And anything above 100,000 is considered a large amount. The more money they give you, the more paperwork they will request from you. Okay, so they can be for specific projects or for general operations. Specific project meaning each one of you here shared you want to fund a musical, you want to fund a book, you want to fund your visual art, etc. Those are specific projects. General operations means you have a nonprofit, you have a building that you need to maintain, you have employees that you need to pay, you have furniture you need to buy, and things that you want to do within that building for your organization. Those are called general operating budgets, okay, to run your organization. But there's also people like me, like I don't have a building, but I have a nonprofit. I could also apply to maintain my staff or maintain the programming of my organization, okay? So grants might, like I said, might be set for amounts of money or set for a number of applicants, or they could be portions of a large overall grant budget awarded as a committee overseeing application as they see fit. All of this will depend on the institution or the organization that is offering the grant, okay? So what type of grants are out there? You have theater grants, film, dance, visual arts. There's foundation grants, micro grants, emerging artist grant, fellowships, music, grants for social cause, literature, media, okay? To name a few, okay? There's grants for podcasts as well. You know, as technology develops, people do integrate these things into their, you know, grant options. So we have individual artists. An individual artist is, let's say Maciel has a media project. She's applying as an artist herself. She doesn't have a staff. She doesn't have a group. She doesn't have a collective. It is her by her lonesome who is applying for these funds. That is an individual artist. Okay, so individual artists can use these funds who individual artists who represent themselves, right? And these funds are given to those seeking to fund an individual project and not that of an organization in the form of money, a fellowship, a residency, or a scholarship, okay? An essential element of this funding is the inclusion of community involvement, meaning your project is community facing. It is not for you and your family. Okay, that means that you are creating a project that you are going to present to an audience. Okay, and in the development and creative process of artist projects, by feedback, response, interaction, and social practice. There are a number of ways for artists to supplement their income and ease the financial burden that comes with being a working artist. Such grants and fellowships provide funds that can be used to pay rent and other expenses, allowing the artist to work full time at being creative, like Edu expressed that he wants his life as a creative to be funded so that he could continue doing this creative work. Okay, then you have community arts grants, which are by nonprofit organization and individual artists working through a fiscal sponsor or a 501c3. Okay, these may include but are not limited to exhibitions, okay, workshop series, performances of all disciplines, which include festivals, screenings, or readings. All funded projects in this category must be community-based and open to the general public. Okay, so what can you use the grant money for as an artist will depend on the grant. There are two broad categories for ways that grants will let you use money. As mentioned before, general support and project specific or restricted grants. So we're going to concentrate on general support and project specific. Like I mentioned before, general support are grants that let you get funding to keep the lights on. This means that you can use the money you receive through a grant to manage recurring expenses required to support your art. For example, you could use the money to pay rent on a studio, purchase supplies, or keep people on your payroll. Then you have project specific, which is grants are allocated to help artists realize a defined mission, allowing funds to be strictly for where were we? Strictly for the project outline in the application. For example, a grant may fund a cross-country tour for a solo show, covering travel costs, but not regular expenses like hometown studio rent, right? Give me a sec here. And then when it comes to restricted funding, that means that the grantor or the donor must give you funds for things that are very specific, and you cannot use the money for anything else. This type of funding limits how the recipient organization or individual can allocate the money, often requiring it to be spent on certain activities within a particular time frame in a specific geographical area. That means, for example, someone asks you for a proposal for a project. They're going to have very specific timeline and funding for that project. You don't get to dictate what that's going to be. They will make the offer to you and you decide whether you're going to go with that. If you apply for a grant and it's project specific, you get to decide what your budget is going to look like. And you will spend that money according to the budget that you gave. So that's you propose it, but if an individual organization or donor asks you for a project, usually those funds are restricted to that specific project. So for example, we were requested to offer a 5-week writing workshop. They sent me the outline and they said, these are the funds. Okay, you could not spend the money on this and this and this. You cannot spend the money on this and this and that. We can cover this, we can cover that. And if I was good with it, we agreed and good to go. Those were restricted funds. Okay, I cannot take that money and use it for something else. Right? Because they will ask me for receipts. They will ask me for proof and evidence that the work was done. Okay, so then we have who funds grants for artists. Artists can receive grants from a variety of different institutions, nonprofits, museums, universities, family-run philanthropies, and corporate philanthropies are part of the institutions that provide grants for artists. Different kinds of institutions will have different requirements for any grant application. We once got a $60,000 grant and all I had to do was sit in a 10-minute interview. And they asked me for what was it? A mid-progress report. It was 5 questions. It was a 2-year grant, $30,000 per year. Before they gave me the next 30 grants, they gave me 5 questions. Let me know how your project is going. Very simple. They didn't ask me for paperwork, nothing. It was a foundation. And then when the second year was done, they asked me for a final report. It was about 10 questions. Was the money helpful? Whatnot, whatever. That was it. That's all they asked me. Other foundations will ask you for a tremendous amount of paperwork. Like I said, the more money they give you, the more paperwork. They want to know that who you are as an artist. They want to know what work you have done. So I always advise people, if you are a creative artist, archive everything you do. Okay, take photos of your work. If you've done anything, even if it's something that you covered out of pocket, take pictures of it, save it. If you've worked with organizations, if organizations have hired you to do anything, save all of that paperwork, because when you apply for grants, they're going to ask you for that. They're going to ask you for samples. And they also want to know that you're serious about this. How long have you been doing this? Right? Because someone who is really passionate about the work is not going to wait for somebody to donate money for them. They're going to start doing it out of pocket. Right? So they want to know how passionate you are. And if they don't see any evidence of that, more than likely, you're not going to get the funding. Okay, and that applies for new applicants, emerging artists. They want to see that evidence. All right. So here we have the criteria that you need to meet to apply for grants, right? So if you have grant specific, each grant has unique eligibility requirements. So check if your project aligns with the grant's goals and scope. I'm going to show you real life samples and how to navigate the websites, okay? So a lot of these grants will also ask you, are you a 501 nonprofit? Are you working with a 501c nonprofit who is supporting your work, or do you have a fiscal sponsor? A fiscal sponsor is someone or organization that holds a 501c nonprofit certificate. Okay, they are the people who will receive the funds on your behalf. They have to report this money in their taxes, and they will also be responsible for making sure that you are doing the project that you need to do, and they will give you that money. Fiscal sponsor will also charge you a percentage of that money. For example, if you go on your browser right now, you could go to Fractured Atlas. I will put that in the chat. Fractured Atlas provides fiscal sponsorship. They charge you a monthly membership, which is not anything big. I think it ranges from $10 to $20. They also provide tons of resources for creatives. Anything from crowdfunding to visa, immigration, paperwork as an artist, tons of stuff. Let me actually put, and you could also, I'm gonna put this in here. Here's the link. A lot of these grant institutions also, I do not share my slides, Marcia. No, I will share the recording. A lot of grant institutions are also providing fiscal sponsorship. Like they'll make themselves responsible for making sure that you get that check. Okay, and you will read that information within their guidelines. Okay, so definitely check out Fresher Atlas. There is also a fiscal sponsorship directory. Where is it? I think it's this one. Okay, so I have served as a fiscal sponsor to artists, and one of my requirements is that their work needs to be aligned with our mission. If it's not, I have no interest in supporting that. So for example, you could be doing a project, I guess, on alcoholism, whatever, that doesn't fall under our mission of amplifying Dominican stories. Okay, so if there's people need to approach me, say, would you be interested in this? This is what the project is about. And I will let them know if I would make myself responsible for that. I have been also a fiscal sponsor about a project that ended up being a nightmare. And after they completed the project, but their whole process was a hot mess. There was so much drama involved. And then the second year, they asked me to be a fiscal sponsor again, and I said, absolutely not. I'm not getting myself involved with things. I'm not gonna get my platform involved with drama and messiness and have our name associated with that. So I had to be clear with them and let them know you're gonna have to find somebody else to want to get involved with all that. Always find a fiscal sponsor that you trust. Search nonprofits in your neighborhood, people that you think may be interested in your project, that you think your missions are aligned. Do your research, make sure it's someone that you have a relationship or have established a relationship with, because they are managing your money at the end of the day. Okay, and you don't want a nonprofit to be like, you know what, I never got that money when they actually did, and you have no proof, right? Because they're the ones who receive these funds, and they're the ones who are going to disperse these funds to you. So those are things that you should know about fiscal sponsorship. All right. Then we have target recipients, which are grants often specify the types of recipients they support. Verify that your location, type, individual, or group and creative discipline match what the grant seeks. Okay. Then we have identity-based eligibility.
Angie, real quick. I'm sorry I'm interrupting. Because there's a question in the chat, real quick.
What's
Can
the
you
question?
share what made an adversarial process? Was it the paperwork or due process? Which I guess is getting at, like, how can we make it so that we're appealing to a potential fiscal sponsorship?
Mierda, JP, gracias por, yo se lo dije en americano so she can stop. I just want to know what makes it.
What made it a nightmare was their staff. Their staff had a lot of animosity between each other. There was a lot of ego involved. At one point, people decided that they weren't going to talk to each other. So I ended up being the middleman. It was just a lot of personalities involved, a lot of ego that eventually became more important than the fulfillment of the project. Okay. And the project was a theater-based project. So, and it involved like 20 actors, people that needed to get paid. So it was just crazy. And I was just like, you know what? I'm not doing it again. You need to get your life together. So when it came to the paperwork, there was one person responsible for collecting all the receipts, for giving me the names of everyone who were involved, because we were responsible for writing a check to each one of these people to get paid for the project. So that was seamless. That they did a great job. I told them what I needed from them. I needed W-9s for everyone that was getting paid. I needed their information, where the checks were being sent, all of that. That wasn't a nightmare. The nightmare was from the beginning of the project to the end, and how they couldn't, get their life together, and I ended up being in the middle. Because they were people that I knew. So they approached me because they know me and they know of my work. So they were people that I already had a sort of a relationship with. So I gave them the benefit of the doubt, but they ruined that relationship. Okay, that was the process. Okay, so advice number one, don't get your fiscal sponsor involved with no drama. Okay, figure your life out. You only want your fiscal sponsor to be involved with money. That's it. Assign that the role, who's going to be the contact person who's going to be communicating with the fiscal sponsor to make sure that the money gets disbursed and people get paid, etc., etc. Assign one person. They shouldn't be 5 people communicating with them. One person should be assigned, one person that speaks to the group if there's a group, and that communication should be one-on-one. Okay. Be very specific with what the fiscal sponsor needs in terms of paperwork to provide you with fiscal sponsorship. If they're charging a fee, you should ask them up front, are you charging me a fee? I charge 15% of the funding. Okay, because you're getting me involved. Now I got to report this to taxes. Now I got to do paperwork. It's a whole process involved. It's sort of like an extra arm of my organization that now I need to manage fiscally. So we charge 15% of that. So ask your fiscal sponsor, are you charging me? And if so, how much? When do you get your money? Do you get it right off the top? Do you get it at the end? How does that work? Then, some fiscal sponsor will release all the funds to you and get rid of you, and that's it. Other fiscal sponsor will want to know what the project, like me, I associated myself on it. My name was on all the branding, so I need to make sure that things are going the way they need to go. So I had certain requirements, and you need to ask your fiscal sponsor what those requirements are. Okay, and also if you have certain expectations, just because you have a fiscal sponsorship doesn't mean that they're going to run the show for you. Okay, you need to let them know what your expectations are as well, reach a compromise and agreement to get the work done. And yes, I do have to report everything as a fiscal sponsor. Anything that involves money, I have to report it. Okay. Nonprofits should be filing taxes. We file taxes, and those receipts I need to collect, those evidence of paperwork and whatnot, anything that involves an expense, any payments that need to be made, we need to collect all that. Okay. So, and you should also keep track for your project, because you have a budget and you want to make sure that your money is being spent as you describe in the budget, right? You don't want to go above that and come out in the red, or, oh my God, we spent more money in marketing than we should have spent, or we spent, we rented something that we shouldn't have. So do your research, okay? Going back to this, there's a pre-funding requirement. Certain grants require that you have raised an initial amount to demonstrate project backing before additional funding. What this means is there's a lot of grants that would tell you that they want to know that you are also raising funds for this project. Okay, I will show you an example of what that looks like. For example, the LMC, actually all the micro grants ask you to raise a certain amount of money. You could do that via donation. You could do that maybe you decide that you're going to come out of pocket and you're going to invest a certain amount of money. They don't ask you for proof of that. They just want you to put it on the paperwork and for you to understand that there's a certain cap that they're going to give you. And I will show you proof of that. You do not need to be a full-time artist or affiliated with artist institution to qualify. If you meet the criteria and you have a strong project case, don't hesitate to apply, all right? So steps to increase your chances of securing art grants is identifying suitable grants, applying thoughtfully, preparing for the competition, because if you think you're the only one who has this project idea, guess what? You're not, okay? Your execution is differentiating you from any other artist. And you need to prepare accordingly, right? You need to consider whether you need a fiscal sponsor or not. The guidelines will tell you, will ask you for these things. So access to more grants, fiscal sponsors broaden your eligibility, enabling you to apply for funding exclusive to nonprofits and sponsor projects, which increases your potential funding options. So I explained what fiscal sponsorship was, but here is a broader explanation. Let me know if you have questions. I'm in the chat. I have the chat open if you have questions or if there's any confusion around what a fiscal sponsor is. It could be a one-time collaboration like I did with that group, or it can be, you know, for example, Leo. Leo was here in the beginning. Leo, Leo and I have been friends for a very long time, and Leo and I meet every year. We have these meetings so he could just share all his ideas with me to see if any of those ideas have a potential of him applying for a grant. And there was one idea that I always said to Leo, why are you not seeking funding? This would be funded. Think about it. And then there was a grant that came up from Carnegie Hall, which is a huge institution. I'm pretty sure a lot of you are familiar if you're in New York City. And it was a $15,000 grant. And it had a very competitive process. He had to go through like 3 interviews. He had to submit a proposal. He needed a fiscal sponsor. So we served as a fiscal sponsor for him. And he wrote out the grant. I reviewed the language for him. I helped him with putting it together. I won't write it for you, but I will tell you what these funders are looking for. Okay. Leo got up to the 2nd interview and didn't get the grant. But I was like, that's great though, because now we know that for the 2nd time around, because you're going to apply again, we know what we need to adjust so that you could get to the 3rd interview. All right. So we were able to analyze what went wrong, which I don't remember what it was, and he wasn't seeing it either. But I asked him, how did the interview go? What did they ask you? You know, why didn't you get the money? Because they also shared with him. I think they gave him info on why he didn't get the funding or whatnot. So next time around, we were able to shape the grant so that it met the needs and whatnot of what they needed, and he got it. He got it the 2nd time around. And then after he completed the project, they gave him another $15K because they really liked this project, and he didn't need to apply for the 2nd round. They just saw how he produced his work. They loved his project, and they said to him, we're going to give you another $15K. And Leo had never applied to grants. He had some evidence of work that he had done before within the community. But we worked through the grant in a way that he was able to get the funding. Okay, so those are ways that, I mean, if I'm a fiscal sponsor, I'm going to get involved because I have this saying in Spanish, a mí no me haga pasar vergüenza. Don't embarrass me. And especially if I'm gonna put my brand behind it, I'm gonna make sure that you're not out there embarrassing our name. So I would sit down with you and tell you, look, this might help you, this might not. Here are some resources. Let me know what you need. I think Maciel and I did the same thing when she did her exhibition recently. So, you know, those are things that I have time. I will walk you through that process. Okay. Any questions about fiscal sponsorship? We clear? Okay. So, going back to the first three questions that you answered, right? We're going to use that information to define your project. Okay. So take a few minutes. I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to begin writing down your idea, your vision, your mission, your goals and objective with your creative project. Okay, this is going to help you stay aligned with your mission and ensure that you match your project to the right grant to consider the following. So consider the following questions. What is your project called? Make sure that it's something that is going to call attention, that is going to draw people to your project, okay? Don't make it too academic. Make it so that your audience gravitates to it. What are the goals and purposes behind your project? Why are you doing this? Why is this important for you? Right? Who will be involved in bringing this project to life? Is it just you? Are you involving a group of people that are going to also contribute in some way, shape, or form to this project? Where is this project taking place? Right? Don't think just area, but do you want it in a restaurant? Do you want it in a theater? Are you going to rent an event space? Are you going to do it in a bookstore? Are you going to do it in a cafe? Be as specific as possible about where this project is going to take place. And then think, what resources do you need? Think equipment, venue, marketing, are you gonna need to print out flyers? Are you gonna need what else? I can't think of anything else right now. But what are you going to need to put together this project? Okay, so write this down. I'm gonna give you 5 minutes, and then I'm going to show you an example of what this is going to look like, or should look like for you. Okay, so we're gonna do 5 minutes. 2 more minutes. One minute. Okay, so what should that look like? Here's an example of what that should look like to you. Okay, this is just an example, youth empowerment mural project. Project goals to engage local youth in a community-driven art project to beautify a public space and instill pride in the neighborhood. The purpose is this mural project is designed to give young people a creative outlet, build teamwork skills, and foster a sense of community ownership and pride. Then we have project team. Lead artist is yourself. Local youth participants are going to be involved, community volunteers, partnering nonprofit organization. Location, side wall of the community center on Main Street. Resources needed. They need paint, brushes, protective gear, and scaffolding. The venue is going to be a community center for planning meetings and indoor work on mural elements. And they're going to promote via social media, the local newspaper, and putting up posters in the neighborhood. Okay? It doesn't have to be that complicated, right? This is an outline that you could use and you could develop this even further, okay? So clearly outlining each of these aspects ensure that you can articulate your project's missions and its specific needs. This foundation will help you guide your proposal toward the right grant opportunities. So before you even apply to grants and start your research, you should have this written down. Okay? Because once you start searching, you will check to see if your project, if this information aligns with what that grant is seeking. Yes, Maciel.
I have a question, and do you recommend that you have your project pretty much done? Meaning, like, let's say if we're doing the visuals, should I have the actual visuals, or can you just have the idea really flushed out? Because I know
You just
depending on the
need the idea flushed out. You don't need to have the project done because they're not going to ask you for that. They're going to ask you for the proposal. What is the idea? What is it that you want to do?
Okay.
And if you have evidence of projects that you have done before that you could provide as samples, that you should also share those.
Okay, because I know some grants they ask you for like very specific, like venue, date, time, kind of thing.
Well, those aren't set in stone.
Okay.
Okay, so anything that you put down doesn't mean that it's going to happen. Unless it's, for example, poets and writers grants. They give funding for a specific date and time. So yes, for that grant, you do need to know when is that event going to take place. But that's not a proposal that you're submitting to poets and writers. These are proposals that you're sending to people and you're seeing if they're going to be interested and seeing if you're gonna get the funding. Okay? So then you have outlining your budget. Determine how much funding you'll need and specify what each dollar will support. Draft a detailed budget that captures all project expenses. This budget will guide you in identifying funders whose grant offerings align with your financial needs. So for example, if your grant is $5,000, you shouldn't be applying for a grant that's only going to give you 200. How are you going to pay for everything else? Okay? And if you see a grant that is $5,000 to $10,000, then maybe you could fit part of your grant so that it could get funded. Because, for example, these institutions are not talking to each other. So you could submit your grant to various places as long as you meet the criteria. Okay? And you could submit a part of that grant to one place and the second part of that proposal to another place. And who knows, it may be funded. And if one of them doesn't get funded, at least one part gets funded. Right? Just an idea. So having the information about your budget organized from the start allows you to focus fully on finding grants that best fit your project's vision and requirements. So here's an example of what that budget looks like for the art project that I provided for you. You have paint supplies, $1,000, scaffolding and safety equipment, $500, artist and instructor fees, $2,500, venue rental, marketing and promotion, event costs for unveiling, and the total of this project is an estimated $5,500. Okay, any questions about this part, the budget? No. Okay, so we're gonna do a little exercise right now. I am going to stop sharing my screen. Where is it? Stop sharing. Stop. Okay, so how many of you use why is this? Oh, okay. New thread. Okay. Somebody had a question you had a question,
Yes.
Edu?
Yeah, sorry, I missed the budget thing. In case of performing arts, for example, that you're charging for tickets for a future production, how do you reflect the expenses and the incomes? Should the project be profitable or should be like break even or?
So you're not mentioning ticket sales. That has nothing to do with how do I say this? You are asking them for money, right? So if you're charging for tickets, that's not information that they want to know.
Okay.
They just want to know how much money do you need. So you and your organization should know, okay, we're going to make this much income from ticket sales. And it's up to you whether you want to use that money towards putting together the project. But they're not going to question that. They're going to ask you, what do you need the money for?
Okay. So the only incomes that I should put in the budget is the other
They're not
grants
going
I'm
to
asking
ask
for?
you for, a lot of these places are not going to ask you for income from the project because you haven't done this project yet.
Okay.
You understand? But if your grant has to do with, for example, the Mellon Foundation, and you want to fund yourself as an artist, yes, they may ask you for income. Okay, but but what we're talking about here is project-based proposals where you're trying to put together, for example, a play. Right? You're going to ask money to put together that play. You're going to ask money for the venue. You want to pay the actors. You want to pay for marketing and promotion. You might have some equipment rental involved, that type of stuff.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I wanted to ask you how many of you are familiar with AI? How many of you are using it? I know some people feel a type of way, but I'm going to debunk that today. Okay, I am going to share my screen. Can everybody see my screen? It's open on Perplexity at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay, so Perplexity is great for doing research. Okay, and they will also cite their sources. If you do not have an account with Perplexity, I highly recommend that you create a free account. You could also pay for it. I pay for mine, but I cannot tell you what's the difference between the free and paid offerings because they update the platform all the time. Okay, but do your due diligence, do your research, go on YouTube, look up what Perplexity can and cannot do. So how to use Perplexities. So let's say I want to fund a media project. I live in New York City. What grants should I be applying for? And this is very general. I didn't even give information on what this media project is about. Okay. So here we go. Here's a list. Okay. Yes, you can go to Google, but Google is not going to be specific towards the project that you're trying to fund. The more information you provide Perplexity about the project you're trying to fund, the more they will hone the search. Okay, so here's the information. There's grants on here that I've never even heard of, like El Foco Media Fund. They give out $2,000. Right? They mention artist fellowship, the city arts corps grants. Okay, so here we have other questions that you may want to ask Perplexity. Like, for example, what other grants are available specifically to media artists in New York? Or are there grants for media projects focused on diversity and inclusion? Or can I apply for New York City Women's Fund for media, music, and theater? How can I apply? Right? What are the criteria to apply for the media arts assistant one? And are there any grants for digital media projects in your city? Okay, so here are the sources. So Perplexity is not talking out of its ASS. Okay, they provide the sources. You could click on them and make sure that the information that they're providing is legit. Okay, so let's say, for example, okay, I have a memoir I would like to fund. How can I do this? Again, very general. You don't need, the more specific you have, the better. But if you want to ask it a general question just to, explore what kind of things are out there, here's a list. Okay. Little man, you there? And for those of you who said you have interest in funding a book,
Yes, I'm here.
and this is not all of it. Okay, the more specific, the longer the list may become. Okay, here we go. How about grants for visual artists? See? So AI is not that bad. It just depends what you're using it for, okay? It could be very helpful. All right. So I will show you an example of a grant. We're gonna go into LMCC. LMCC stands for Lower Manhattan Council of the Arts, located in New York City. I'm pretty sure whatever state you're in, there's a Council of the Arts. Look it up. If you're in New Jersey, if you're in Delaware, if you're in Virginia, believe you me, there's a Council of the Arts. Look it up and see what grants are available. The more you hone in your research, your location, the better. So if you are in Virginia, if you are in California, say what grants are available to California residents. If you include your city, it will give you a list for your city. If you put in the year, it will give you current grants available for your city. If you put in the genre or the discipline that you're trying to fund, that will also assist you in honing that list to your specific needs. Okay, so an example of Lower Manhattan Council of the Arts. These notifications and these applications have been closed for 2025. They will disperse the funding. The applications opened in August. I believe they closed in October, and they will disperse these funds in the spring. Okay, another thing for you to keep in mind, just because you apply for a grant does not mean that you're going to get it within the next 30 days. Okay, usually it's within 6 months. Okay, so a lot of the time people start the work with money out of their pocket and then they reimburse themselves, or they wait until they get the money to start the work. Any questions? Okay, so let's look into creative engagement, which is one of the grants that LMCC provides. Okay, here you will see the guidelines. Creative engagement is an arts funding program that provides seed grants to individual artists and nonprofit organizations for projects and activities that offer Manhattan community diverse artistic experience. Each year, the program supports over 150 arts projects in Manhattan, including concerts, performances, public art, exhibitions, screenings, festivals, workshops, readings, and more. Through this grant, the program awards over $500,000 for projects. That doesn't mean that one individual, no, that 500,000 gets disbursed to the pot, to the applicants. Okay, and everyone could get anything from $5,000 to $10,000, if I remember correctly. You will see here what their cap is. Okay, the program funding is provided by New York City Department of Cultural Affairs. So for example, Licedia, you live in the Bronx, you have a Bronx Council of the Arts, and I think though that deadline is approaching. Okay, here you have program guidelines and tips. Let's download the guidelines. Okay, so here we go. About creative engagement, how creative engagement works, what you should know, funding amount. Creative engagement offers opportunities to city, state, and the Howard Gilman Foundation funds. So they added, the Howard Gilman Foundation it was just added recently, and they give extra money. Okay, the Creative Engagement Award grants in 3 amounts: $4,000 for city, $8,000 for state, and $12,000 for Howard Gilman. Your project can apply for all 3. Okay, so please note, applicants eligible for funding source will be considered for $4,000. Applicants eligible for 2 will be considered for the 8. Applicants for the 3 will be considered for the 12,000. Okay, applicants will be considered for the maximum grant amount possible based on the applicant's eligibility. See the applicant eligibility. You're going to click on that and you're going to see whether or not you are eligible. Okay, here's the application deadline for projects taking place January 1st through 2025. We approached these guidelines and the applications have closed. So I don't want to miss next year's applications when they open. So what I do is that I sign up to their newsletter so that I could receive the email saying applications are open. So just because you miss a grant deadline doesn't mean that it's over for you. No, apply next year, but sign up to these funders newsletters so that you can receive notifications. Okay? Then you have all these funders provide info sessions. It is a requirement that if you want to submit an application, you must attend an info session. They will ask you, they will check attendance. Okay, on the application, they will ask you, when did you attend? Where did you attend? And they will look up that attendance sheet. Okay, it is a requirement. All right, and they have virtual info sessions, and they also do them in person in different cultural spaces. Okay, so again, if you sign up to the newsletter, you're gonna find out when these info sessions will be available, so you don't miss them. Okay, they also provide the information in Spanish and other languages. Okay, here we have the applicant eligibility. You must live in Manhattan. So if you live in New Jersey, I'm sorry. Organizations must have proof of nonprofit status. Organizations, if you're not an organization, do not worry about the requirement. Organizations must have a core artistic mission or a history of arts programming. Applicants may not be directly applying to LMCC's learning program for the same fiscal year. Applicants may not be directly applying for DCLA and NISCA. These are other, these are bigger funders, and LMCC gets their money from these funders. So they don't want you also applying to the main funder. And they will tell you that, okay? First-time applicants are required to attend an information session for webinar creative engagement before applying. So now they changed this, that returning applicants are required to attend an information session or watch a recorded information session. So for example, we've been funded by LMCC for 3 years. I don't need to attend the in-person. They send me the video, I watch it. They do update these applications, and I need to be informed of what these updates are. Okay, here you have what are the requirements for you to access the city funding pot, which was $4,000. What are the requirements for the state funding, which was $8,000, if I remember correctly. Then you have accessing the Gilman funding, which was $12,000. These are the requirements you need to meet. Okay, individual artists and collective. These are the requirements. You read them really careful. Again, you got to live in Manhattan, and all of that you see on the list. Okay, to access city funding, to access the state, and then to access the Howard Gilman. Here, they talk to you about fiscal sponsorship. This is why it's important for you to read the guidelines, right? Individual artists and collective may apply directly to creative engagement without a fiscal sponsor. Those who wish to apply with a fiscal sponsor, please note that applicants for city funding may apply for fiscal sponsor of their choice. But applicants for state funding may only designate their partner organization as a fiscal sponsor. Okay, so they have very specific requirements for fiscal sponsorship. If you're confused or you have any questions, email them. Okay, so West Harlem falls under Manhattan. Okay, but there is the Harlem. Oh my God, let me look this up, because there is one specific. There is a funder specific to Harlem, but they're not a council. They're called the West Harlem Fund, I believe it's called. Is that it? The West Harlem Fund? I'm going to put the link in the chat. Or is it called the West Harlem Development? I think yes, it's the West Harlem Development. There you go. they open up grant applications every year. Here you go. I don't know if you could see it here. You see it on my screen, West Harlem Development Corporation? Okay, again, use Perplexity. You want to apply for grants in Harlem? Ask Perplexity what grants are available in Harlem, and it will tell you that. Okay. And it should come up in there. Yeah. There you go. West Harlem Development was the first one that came up. They also mentioned the LMCC UMass grant, and Citizens Committee also serves Manhattan. Okay. So going back to the guidelines, you have project eligibility, you have funding restrictions, what you cannot use the money for. Read this very carefully. Events that take place in private homes, payment amateur participants of community workshops or programs, projects that are primarily self-guided or intended to be experienced individually without live artist engagement, in-school arts education. There's a long list of stuff that you cannot spend that money on, okay? They tell you what the review process is. And because these grants ask you for work sample, here they tell you what those instructions are for the work samples. So some people may ask you to submit audio, to submit 10 images. If you have a manuscript for a workshop or whatnot, they want 10 pages of that manuscript. For performing arts, film, media, and other time-based projects, they will ask you to submit 2 recordings of past and current works or projects in performing media, music, film, or other time-based art forms. Do not submit edited, promotional, or interview materials, including recordings with voice over narration, multiple artistic works compiled into a single recording or image. Okay, and they will tell you here how they want you to share that information. Then you have for visual arts projects, what they will ask you for. For literary projects, submit up to 10 pages of your script, poetry, or prose. Applicants may provide a number of works totaling up to 10 pages. Here you have, again, required document instructions. Okay, so folks, don't wait till 3 days prior to deadline to start working on this. I do not advise it. Okay, especially if you are a first-time applicant, there's a lot of information involved, a lot of paperwork that you may need to compile and put together so that it looks good to these committees. So I advise you that if you're on the newsletter, as soon as you get that notification, the applications are open, go in there, download the requirements, read the guidelines, read the information, and start working on your project. You should dedicate at least 1 month to put your application together. Okay. Now, LMCC repeats these grants every year at the same time. So right now, you could start working on that project until they release those applications, and allow yourself from now until next August for you to work on that and flesh out exactly what you want to do. Okay. As you see, even though the applications have closed, the information is still available on their website. And this information is not going to change that drastically from here to next year. Okay, but as you see here, individual artists and collective, they ask you for letters of commitment. They ask for proof of nonprofit status. If you're working with an organization may need to submit their list of board of directors, which is something I have to do if I apply. I also need to submit financial statements of our taxes and whatnot. So if you are working with a partner organization, they have to do this part. So for example, if I'm partnering with you, don't come at me a week before that you need this information from me, because I'm going to say no. Okay. A lot of us are working on multiple things, and to be rushed through things that, like, for example, I need to evaluate your project if you want me to partner. And I'm not going to give you an answer the next day. I might require 1 to 2 weeks to sit with it and maybe flesh it out with you and give you some ideas until I am happy with what I'm going to participate in. Right? So do not, if you have a partner or a team, don't wait till the last minute to tell them about this project. Do it with a lot of time, a lot of anticipation, so that people, you know, have enough time to work through it. Okay, so these are the guidelines. You still see them on the application. Here you have, if you have questions or concerns, these are the places that you're going to reach out to. If you want to see a list of the jurors, these are the people who were jurors last year for each discipline, for dance, multidisciplinary and literature, for music, theater, visual arts. Okay, then here is something that I always ask people to look at, and I don't even know what they look like at. Okay, this is a list of people that won last year. Okay, let's open this. Okay, and what you will find is that a lot of people have very similar projects. Okay, but their execution is different, their titles are definitely different, their audience might be different, but there's similarities on many of them. And just because your project is similar to another does not mean you cannot submit it. Okay, again, your idea is not unique. Lots of people have done what you think is brand new to, and not to, please don't take offense to that. But believe you me, if you've written about hair, somebody else has done it too. If you've written about body image, if you've done, off the top of my head, I can't mention, but trust me, other people have also shared that idea and have done projects around those ideas, okay? So here you have a list of everyone that got funded. American Lindy champions, the Clark Kent for dance. Here's a list. Harlem Dance Club, the Japanese folk dance. You may also look through these and say, hey, nobody's proposing this. Maybe I should propose it, right? And maybe you want to reach out to one of these organizations and say, hey, given that you were funded for this project last year, you may be interested in a project that I'm proposing, right? You could also do that. Approach people to be your partner on these projects. You have here multidisciplinary and literature. What are people funding with that part of the grant, right? Are they funding books? Are they funding anthologies? We've funded anthologies before. This person here has embodied poetry, a hybrid poetry performance series, right? Al ritmo del bolero. The gatekeepers, you may see organizations that you recognize. So look through all these, check them out. What are people proposing? What are people doing? You may get ideas to do something new. You may say, hey, let me approach this person as a partner. Centro Cívico Dominicano, which is an organization that we've worked with, they got their concert series and music appreciation day funded. Yeah, there's quite a few organizations here that I know and that we've worked with before who have funded projects. Any questions about this part? None? Okay. And you will see that LMCC has 2021, 22, 23, 24, and next year they'll add 25. Okay. Also, from the main page of LMCC, there's 3 grants here, 3 different grants: creative engagement, creative learning, and UMass arts. Check them all out, read all the information, because again, you may have a proposal that fits these applications. So I am going to look for an example of a budget somewhere over here. A budget that we have submitted. To give you an example, creative learning. Let me see. It's a budget that I need to find. Let me see. Okay, here's a budget template. Can you guys see this spreadsheet? It looks very light. I don't know why, but can you see it? Okay, this is a 2019 spreadsheet for LMCC. I'm pretty sure it hasn't changed much. Okay, but here you will see that it asks for the applicant name, the project title. Here is project income. So see, Edu, this one may ask you for project income, but what happens is you report project income and they deduct it from the amount you're asking for. Okay, there's no way of them proving project income. So the less money you put for project income, the better. Okay. So here they ask you how much money you think you're gonna make from tickets. If you put that there, let's say I'm making $1,000 of tickets, that's $1,000 less from the money they're gonna give you. Okay. But if you don't report tickets, there's no way of knowing, of them knowing that you're making an income out of this. They're only going by what you report here. Okay. Then so if you have other grants from other foundation, that I do report. Just because I want them to see evidence of who else has funded us. Okay. And here you get to the part about the project expenses. What are you, in terms of personnel, artistic, how much money are you paying your artistic contributors? Administrative fee, someone who's handling the paperwork. How much are you paying that person? If there's something else personnel related, how much are you paying for that person? So let's say I put here artistic, $2,500. So if you look down, you see the number here in the green. It says creative learning requests, and then it has total project budget from government. I'm gonna say somebody gave me $5,000. Okay, that I apply for $5,000. Here says, is this secure funding? No, just because I apply doesn't mean I'm getting it. Okay. So do you see now it's negative 2,500? It put it in parentheses. It says that my total income is $5,000 and I requested 2,500. So now I'm negative 25. That's because I put the 5,000 there. Okay. Now other expenses, let's say our space, $300, marketing and promotion, $150. Transportation, no. Opening night, $1,500. Permits, no. Fiscal sponsorship, no. Office supplies, no, I don't have office supplies. Insurance, I may need to pay $350 for insurance. Administrative, let's do $750. Art production materials, I need to print flyers, let's do $300 as well. The total of that I would need for this project is $5,850. So as you see, because I reported that I applied for 5,000, they deducted that 5,000. So they're only going to give me $850 because I said that I'm getting $5,000. So don't put it. As an individual artist, I don't recommend it. And if you do, put an amount low enough that you wouldn't mind that they take out of your grant. Okay. As you see here, we're back to total project budget, 5,850. Okay. Here they ask you if there's donated goods or donated services. For example, a venue might say that they'll let you use their venue for free, and that rental fee for that venue may be $350. So you say that in kind is 350, but those 350, they put it in here. Right? So there you go. That's the budget. Somebody had a question in the chat? Yes, all these sheets are on their website. Okay, when you go and download the application, the budget spreadsheet is part of their application, and you will need to complete it. Okay. Any question about the budget? No?
I have a question. It could be like you're going to try and make it the amount as close to as possible, but it is an estimate, right? Because you won't ever know like exactly the exact amount. But let's say I apply for a grant and it's $5,000 and I actually ended up using 3,000. Then how would you report, like, let's say I want to use the rest to pay myself as an individual artist because I curated and did all.
Well, you're supposed to put yourself on the grant anyways.
Okay, like
you're the lead artist, so you should be paying yourself always.
Okay, so that is a part of the.
Okay, but if you have money left over, you can report that in the final report, because they do ask you. LMCC will send you an email and say, hey, here's the final report. We want to know how it went. So they might ask you for pictures. They might ask you for recordings of the event. They'll ask you questions whether the money was used for or not. I don't recall any information about, do you have money left over and what did you use it for? No, they will simply say, did the money help you? Would you have fulfilled this project without this funding? That type of question. Okay, but they will not ask you for receipts that I recall. I don't know. Let me see if I have a final report here that I've done. No, I don't have, not this one. No, I don't have a final report here, because the final reports are done online on their platform. You got to fill out the information. But yeah, it's not, the final reports are not anything out of this world. Eduardo is asking, any experience with artists wanting to remaining anonymous, if not with grant fellowship themselves and with reporting to the public after? No. So Eduardo, these things are not, yeah, they make your name public, but that is a conversation that you need to have with them. Again, a lot of these grants are public facing. Your grant needs to serve an audience. So if you're going to be anonymous, that's not a grant serving project. That's not an audience serving project. When it comes to you writing a memoir and requesting a fellowship, that is between you and the fellowship people. You need to have the conversation with them. A lot of these times, fellowships need to report who's receiving these fellowships, and your name will be public record somewhere. So I've never worked with anyone that wanted to be anonymous for an art project, because if there's anything an artist wants to say, they did something. They want to make that public, that they did this work. Okay. Any questions? And I want to go back to, so does anyone want to try Perplexity and search for grants under their discipline? Go ahead, Macien. Did anyone try it? Anyone else? So, let me share the screen. Okay. So we went through some of the grants. So researching and finding the right grant. Some of this information I did share with you already, that they have geographical limitations, like LMCC required that you lived in Manhattan. If you do not live, they will ask you for proof of address. So if you don't live in Manhattan, no. Okay. Some grants are only available to nonprofits or require fiscal sponsorship. Some grants will be easier to apply to than others. The more money you ask for, the more lengthy that application is, the more paperwork that they will require of you. Once you've narrowed down your options, organize them by deadline and complexity. Schedule a reminder at least a week before each deadline to allow yourself for final adjustments, not to start a week prior. For final adjustments, give yourself time. Researching and applying for grants is time sensitive. Application vary in length and may require details that aren't readily available. So it's crucial to plan accordingly to begin your search. Use Google or Perplexity, because now AI is helping people out with a lot of this stuff, and apply keywords that align with your project goals. So for example, youth arts program, grants for performing arts in New York City, film grants for women, writing residency, writing fellowships, art fellowships, etc. So I want you all to create an account on Perplexity and try your search. Okay, I'm going to give you 5 minutes for that. And I think we went over this already. As I'm talking, please do your search, but we went through commonly known funders. A lot of these applications look the same and the information is repetitive. So when you're applying for a grant, open a Google Doc, copy the questions from the grant application onto a Google Doc and start working on answering those questions. Okay. So we have grant funders like Lower Manhattan Council of the Arts, Brooklyn, Bronx Council of the Arts, Citizens Committee, New York City Funds, Women's Funds for Media, New York City Foundation of the Arts, HAD Fund, film grants. As you saw, if you ask Perplexity, it's going to give you a list. These are also directories that will require a membership, but they will give you a list of grants. They will send you a list every week of grants that fit your criteria, okay? So that's the Grants Gateway. Their membership is $100. If you find another person who's interested in also becoming a member, you could split that fee and share the login. Okay, Grants Watch, also grants.gov provide grants for state and federal. This is the website that I use at my job every freaking day. But those are some directories that will provide you a list of grants. Okay. I also shared with you with the guidelines for these questions you should be asking yourself in terms of whether or not you qualify. Are you an individual artist? Are you a 501c3 organization? Is your project community-based? Will you require a fiscal sponsor? Do you have all the information you need to complete the application on time? Right? So we went through interpretation of guidelines. So once you pinpoint a grant or grants you would like to submit, make sure you read the guidelines and that you understand them. Look up previous grant proposals that were funded as well, because that would inform you. If you have questions, you may always email or call the organization providing the grant. Mark your calendar, set a deadline of about 3 to 5 days prior to submission to ensure you submit on time, but not at the last minute. I do not recommend that you wait until the day of the deadline to submit. If you could submit 3 days, 5 days prior, do it. Because there's tons of people who wait till the last minute, and then when a lot of people are on the same website, that website can go down, and then you'll never be able to submit your grant. And my job, when I'm working with applicants, we submit grants 5 days before the deadline. And this is stuff I also shared. Allow yourself ample time. Sign up to the newsletters. When you do your Google search, make a list of the grants that apply to you. Go on their website. Sign up to the newsletter. Look at what the requirements are. Do you have them? Do you have time to ask for a letter of recommendation? Do you have time to reach out to a partner? Do you have time to get your team together? Any questions, folks? These are common questions in grant application. Right here. Let me see if I can find a previous application for that I've done that I could show you so that you could see the question. Folks, if you gotta go, totally understand. This recording will be available. So if you want me to send it to you, please email me. I will put my email in the chat and you could request the video. Let me see. Final application. Okay. So can you see my screen? I'm showing you an application. Can you see that? Okay. These are the questions in the LMCC grant. Okay. So they asked to enter location where that project was going to take place. It was at Word Up Community Bookstore. I am applying as a nonprofit organization. I am applying for city and state funds. I am a returning grantee. I am applying for creative learning. These are just check boxes on the form for you to complete. Okay, so here are the questions. Part 1, project proposals. The questions in part 1 of the application will give the jury a robust understanding of your proposed project. When taken as a whole, the information and material provided in part 1 should address the 4 points of program criteria. And the 4 points of program criteria are artistic merit, degree to which the proposed project will strengthen learning in the arts, clarity and appropriateness and feasibility of the project. Is the project feasible to do? Right? If it's too complicated, this may not be the grant for you. For partnership projects, the degree to which the partner will collaborate, plan, implement, and contribute resources for the project. Okay, so here they have the following questions. Well, they repeat that. So this was for a 6-week writing workshop that we proposed. It fell under the literature and writing discipline. We did receive the money for this grant. It asked me, is the venue tentative? Yes. Number of learning sessions in the project, 7. Total number of participants you expect, 25. Number of youth involved, number of seniors. How many events will culminate out of this proposal? Then here is asking you briefly describe your collective, who we are as Dominican Writers Association, clearly describe the proposal. This is a 6-week workshop that teaches all writers of color of all levels, key aspects, whatever is being offered by Clavis Nantera. There's a description of the workshop. Describe how you will recruit the target audience. We will share information in the Latinx writers. We were part of this group, so we would share the information to the writer. We said social media promotion, registration process. We have a newsletter, social media platform, WhatsApp group, whatever. What are the learning goals and outcomes for the proposed project? By the end of the workshop, participants will have gained the skills and knowledge and whatnot. So we listed 5 things here that participants would take away with them from the workshop. What other financial or in-kind resources? We said Word Up was going to give us a space for free. State funds, we requested $200 for teaching, for defray the cost for the teaching artists to attend a conference. Here it said enter 3 short biographies. So we needed to include the biography of the facilitator. Then it said project participants and timeline. And they will ask you when were you starting the project? By when would it end? What was the timeline? Here's the budget template that we had to upload. Work samples. So this is all the work samples we uploaded of work that our organization has done. So we provided pictures of a book release we had, well, various book releases we had, pictures of our conference, pictures of a previous workshop that Clavis had done. Those were all evidence that we shared of stuff that we've done in the community. This was proof, I guess, of an anthology that we did. Then I had to upload our financial statements. We weren't reporting taxes at this time yet, but our total budget was $51,000. Our operating budget was 14, if I remember correctly. And then contact information. And did we have a 501c3? Yes, upload. Do we have a board? Yes, upload the list of your board. What district are we in? What Congress district are we in? Like a bunch of stuff about the area we're located in. What community board represents us? A lot of this stuff is just administrative stuff. Have we been in the press? What's our website? What's our social media? And my signature. How do we feel about that? Is that a lot? So these are the questions that, can you see my presentation? Okay, so these are the questions that are
I can't see
usually
it.
asked. Hello?
No, I can't see. I don't see it on my screen.
Well, it's pointing on it. Let me stop sharing and share again.
Okay.
You see it now?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, some of the questions that I went over with in the application are these. These are the main questions that you should have answers to. Okay, these questions will be asked of you in every grant application. It might be worded differently, but it's the same thing. So if you are clear on what your project is, on your vision, your mission, your goal, and your objective, you could just copy and paste that to every application because it will be practically the same thing. You just might need to rework the language a little bit, but it's usually the same question. Okay, we went over an example of the budget, but things that you could include in your budget, as I showed you, the sample of the budget for LMCC, artistic fees, administrative fees, art production materials, space rental, marketing, transportation, office supplies, insurance, permits, fiscal sponsorship. Definitely refer to the guidelines to see what you can and you cannot do with the money. Also, if there's a grant for $5,000, submit a grant for $5,000. Don't apply for a grant for $1,000. If they're giving you $5,000, figure out a way to make your project fit those needs. Or find a smaller grant. But it doesn't make sense for them to say, hey, we want to give you 5,000 and for you to be like, nah, I just need 300. Imagine what else you could do with the rest of the money. Okay? You could continue developing your project. You could continue paying yourself, buying supplies or whatnot that you may need for your project. Okay? Your budget request shows grant reviewers that your costs are reasonable. So don't put flights in there. I got to fly to Puerto Rico. I got to fly to Jamaica. No. Okay? Be as detailed as possible when listing your expenses. Make sure such expenses is directly related to an activity necessary to reach your project goals. When in doubt about guidelines and how they relate to your project, call and ask questions. Okay? After you apply, can you apply to more than one grant? Yes. Some agencies allow you to submit more than one project to each of their grant mechanism. You will need to carefully read the guidelines and see if it is allowed. Whatever you have time for is what you can apply for. If you have time to apply for 5 grants, do it. As long as you meet the criteria. But applying for grants is a very time-consuming process. Again, do not wait to the last minute to do this. Give yourself at least 1 month to prepare. And just because you missed the deadline doesn't mean that you cannot apply the next year. This is just an opportunity for you to start putting together that proposal so that you're ready when that deadline comes around. Okay? Can you submit the same project to different granting agencies? Yes, these granting agencies do not talk to each other. Okay? How soon do I get the money? Most grants will inform you 2 to 6 months from the application if your grant was approved. Grantors may send you a contract to sign off and may require that you submit final reports. And that is the end of my presentation. So, Edu, when I was talking about fiscal sponsorship, I said that is a conversation that you need to have with your fiscal sponsor. Some people take nothing. Some people say, give me 5%, 10%, 15, 30. They will let you know what their fee is, and you will let them know whether you are in agreement with that or not. That you having a fiscal sponsor is a very personal thing. It should be a personal relationship with that entity. Okay, do we have any more questions, comments, concerns? This was a lot of information.
Hi, yes.
I hope that it is useful. Use Perplexity. Any questions that you have about funding any project, I highly recommend that you use Perplexity. Tell it what your project is, okay? And it will help you hone down a list of grants that you should be applying to.
Excuse me, I have another question about the fiscal sponsorship.
Go on, Edu.
Yeah, so I'm, because I think I'm really confused. So you need a fiscal sponsorship when you are not a nonprofit and need someone to apply for you. That's the goal.
Yes, a lot of these grants will require that a nonprofit organization is partnered with your project so that they could manage the funds that you get.
Okay.
Because nonprofits need to report taxes and they need to report that funding. So they need someone to be able to report that funding. And that's why they ask you for a nonprofit to be involved with you if you're not a registered nonprofit yourself.
Okay. So I can be like an LLC as I am and be associated with a fiscal. Yeah. with a nonprofit, so I can apply. Thank you so much. This is so
Yes.
very valuable information. You're great.
Thank you. Any other questions, comment, concerns? This is your moment.
Is there part two? Because I see there's part one.
I was gonna share that as soon as people say whether they don't have any questions anymore.
Oh, sorry, I got a little hit.
So no comments, questions, or concerns. Speak now or forever hold your peace.
I'm good.
Okay, so November 3rd, which is next week, same time, same place, I will be sharing the second part of this grant application, and it's how to use AI to flesh out your application. Okay, not to write your grant, because I don't recommend that. A lot of these grant funders will feed your application through an AI platform that will detect whether or not you wrote it or not. But I would show you techniques on how to use AI to help you flesh out your thoughts and ideas and whatnot, and then you could write your grant. Okay. And I believe it would be the same link, so put it on your calendar. Because I remember, if I remember correctly, on the Eventbrite, it had part 1 and part 2. So same link, put it on your calendar, November 3rd at 1 p.m. So yeah, I'm looking at so I will teach you how to use different AI applications to do your research and apply for your grants, okay? If you're interested in that, cool. If you're not, all the best to you. I will ask for the mail list so that I could send you guys the video and any other information like links and whatnot that might be useful to you. But other than that, enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Angie. Nos vemos.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Angie.